Tanner slams his bedroom door and throws his backpack across his room. Earlier at school, when he tried to ask a girl he liked for a spare pencil, she said ew and ran off. His face broke out pretty bad this week, and he feels like so many people have been staring and whispering behind his back. His mom saw how upset he's been lately and suggested that they go and see a specialist to see what could be done. But Tanner stubbornly refused. He wasn't interested in the cure. What he wanted was revenge. So after shutting himself off from the world and spending weeks in isolation for his master plan, he came up with the perfect idea. Next Tuesday at exactly 7 a.m., he would show up to school with his SpongeBob backpack and... When I was around 13, my skin just started erupting with cystic acne. I had some on my face, but mostly it was on my back and shoulders. And it got to the point where I didn't even want to take my shirt off in public because I was so embarrassed of how fucked up my skin was. And sometimes when my face would break out, I would refrain from making eye contact with people because I was just so ashamed of how I looked. I just wanted my skin to clear up and look nice for once, but mostly I just wanted to stop feeling so dejected about how I looked. So my mom suggested that we go to a dermatologist, and he ended up prescribing me this medication called Accutane, which is kind of like the god of acne slayers, although it does have some potentially harsh side effects. As for me though, all I really noticed was that my skin got extremely dry, and so if I didn't apply lotion and chapstick multiple times throughout the day, it would basically look like I was shedding my skin like a snake. And so I remember one time before school, I forgot to put some lotion on my face, and I was just walking around oblivious and happened to catch a glimpse of myself in the mirror, and it looked like someone had taken like a cheese grater and just shredded the skin on my forehead. I wasn't bleeding or anything, but the rate at which I was shedding layers of skin was absolutely insane. Skin was super dry. At the end of the day though, it did wonders for my skin, but eventually when I did go off, my acne came back, just a little less severe. I was kind of upset because the medication did work, it worked wonders, but it wasn't a 100% cure. And at this point, I wasn't sure I wanted to run, another cycle of Accutane because there are some really harsh side effects that come with it. And I wasn't sure I wanted to put my body through another harsh round of drugs. And so at the same time, I knew that if I just gave up right now, I'd have to live the rest of my life with, pus oozing out of my pores on a regular basis. So I was a bit torn on what exactly I should do next. And, that's when I started talking to Goggins. Goggins is always on a mission. By the time he was 6, he taught himself how to lucid dream and remain conscious while he slept. This way he could continue working on his goals while others were getting soft and checking out from life. He's so efficient with his use of time. The scientists have calculated he'll have lived an estimated 200-year lifespan by the time he dies when he's in his 70s or 80s. He's been so accustomed to conquering goals and gaining XP that it's become his habitual state. And like a rocket being shot off into the stratosphere, he can't really stop his momentum even if he wanted to. But he's noticed as of late that his efficiency has dropped by about 3% or so. His workouts have been taking longer to get through, and he hasn't really been feeling like himself lately. At first he figured he was just being lazy, and so he pushed through his fatigue. But as he kept pushing himself to go further, harder, faster, and higher, he eventually ended up getting a mild injury, which forced himself to take a week off from the gym. But always in stride, he simply adapted to hitting laps in the pool instead of hitting the iron. In his downtime though, he realized that he hadn't done a proper deload in the past 6 years, and that if he just listened to the warning signs his body was trying to give him, he could have avoided his mild injury altogether. So it's got me thinking, what message has my body secretly been trying to communicate to me? Instead of looking at my acne as some kind of personal defect, like I just had shit genetics, what if my body was secretly trying to communicate a message that something was wrong that desperately needed to be addressed? I had already dropped a nuke on my acne by taking Accutane, and so what was the real underlying cause of my cystic acne? I had a lot to think about, and so I started hitting the books and doing more research on the condition. And so this was when I came across the book, The Hidden Cause of Acne, How Toxic Water is Affecting Your Health by Naval Intelligence Officer Melissa Gallico. And basically in this book, she explains how the chemical fertilizer industry faced a serious problem. After production, they had this super toxic byproduct that was really, costly to get rid of. It's called something like hydrofluorosilicic acid. And so, as any smart company would do, they wanted to know, how can we get rid of this toxic byproduct in a more cost-efficient manner. And so what they did was they hired a consultant, Edward Bernays, who is also the father of public relations, or in other words, marketing, who also happened to write this book, Propaganda. So I'm just throwing that out there real quick. And if you're wondering why I have this book, it's because, you know, I just want you to be your very best, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes. All right, so they hired this guy, Edward Bernays, to basically start a marketing campaign to sell this toxic hydrofluoric acid to the American public by dumping it into the water supply. Yes, I'm being serious. I'm not making this up. You can research it yourself. They marketed it as fluoride, you know, a healthy, enamel enriching, substance for your teeth. And you know, it was a successful campaign. I think like 75% of water is fluoridated today, despite the evidence that in about 1% of people it causes, you know, skin conditions, including cystic acne. And so after reading this book, I was convinced enough to just run a simple experiment on myself. You know, if fluoride was the problem, what would happen if, you know, I drank actually purified water that didn't contain fluoride? Would my skin clear up? You know, it was easy enough to just run a simple test and see what happens. And so, you know, I started doing that. I started drinking only purified water, and within 3 days, my skin cleared up by about like 90%. And so they say that you are what you eat. And when you realize that the human body is, you know, 60 to 70% water, and, you know, if you're drinking all of this toxic water, wouldn't, you know, some side effects start to accrue in your skin, something like acne? As for me though, as long as I stay away from fluoridated water or fluoridated products like toothpaste, for example, or I have to be careful of eating rice because a lot of the times it's cooked in just normal tap water. And I noticed that if I do consume fluoride, within like 3 days or so, I'll start breaking out. But as long as I stay away from fluoride, you know, my skin is nearly flawless. It's just a night and day difference between now and, you know, a few years prior. So the greatest benefit of this whole experience has, I think, really just been the positive effect that having clear skin has had on my self-image. You know, once my skin cleared up, it was kind of like a weight had been lifted off of my shoulders. And nowadays, it's just so much easier to connect and bond with other people. You know, instead of feeling ashamed and avoiding eye contact, I feel like I can finally, you know, just open up and be myself. Alright guys, so I hope you liked that video, and if not, leave some comments on how I can make it better. If this is a topic you want to learn more about, feel free to check out some of my free guides that are going to be in the description down below. Drop a like, comment, subscribe. Let me know, you know, what type of video you want to see next. And as always, keep dreaming while you're awake. Peace.
You ever wonder what it feels like when dreams bleed into real life? Seen scenes from TV get realized. Palm trees, a soft breeze, and chilled ice till tides wash away our problems in the spilled wine.